tell what's happening with Kinlaw and what it would mean if he can't play.
Javon Kinlaw has tendonitis in his knee, an arthritic knee. I don't know, a degenerative knee. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was an issue in college. It was an issue at the Senior Bowl. He had to leave early. It was flagged at the Combine. It's the main reason that he was available for the 49ers. People think this guy is just a phenomenal athlete. He's 330 pounds. You can't move him, but he can also run around. He's a really good run defender. But he's been hurt since he got drafted, since before he got drafted, still hurt. I don't know when he'll play again. It seems like a 23-year-old, 330-pound man who's had knee tendonitis for 2 years is probably not going to get better. But if they can get any games out of him this year, that'd be great because he's essential. You don't think of run defenders being essential anymore, but in this wide nine thing is a gimmick, and it usually fails because it can't stop the run. Those two defensive tackles are isolated, and they can get double teamed, both of them, and just pushed around. And Kinlaw's great against double teams. It's not really a skill you draft for in round one. You draft pass rushers in round one, but you can't move him. He's freaking huge and very strong and athletic. So with him on the field, they have a good run defense. Without him, you can just part the Red Sea. So if he can't play, the Niners have a big problem. The Eagles could run the ball at will.
Ooh. But if Kinlaw's there, they're formidable.
No question. He's the perfect run defender for their scheme.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you know anything about his status?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think basically he shows up to work that day and they ask him how he feels. They don't know. How's it going, Javon? Can you play? I don't know. We'll see.
Iggy, did he play in the preseason games?
He did. He played against the Raiders and it got worse. It seems like he plays and it's really painful afterwards, So I don't know what their plan is with him.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
And again, you would think they would maybe have had a backup for him.
Of course. And, they do. Kentavious Street's pretty good. They signed Zach Kerr, who played well last year. But this wide nine thing is very difficult on defensive tackles. The reason they got rid of DeForest Buckner is that even he wasn't a great run defender in the wide nine because he's 6'8". And when you have two guys blocking you, he's got long legs. He can get moved. You really need two nose tackles in the middle. And Kinlaw's built like one, and they don't have another one who's as good as him. Really tough. So this is the situation that DeMeco Ryans finds himself in right now. It's the same situation that Jim O'Neill had found himself in. He was with Chip Kelly. You want to run a particular scheme. You want to. But then someone gets hurt, and you can't do it anymore. With Jim O'Neill and Chip Kelly, they want to run a 3-4, which is, a nose tackle and two defensive ends. Nose tackle gets hurt, Glenn Dorsey. Now you're going in with a backup nose tackle. If he sucks, well, the middle of the field's wide open, and you can't stop the run between the tackles. You got to change the front. You got to at least force him to run outside because there's, a sideline over there who's an extra defender. If you can't stop the run between the tackles, you're a terrible defense every time. So what are you going to do without Javon Kinlaw? Are you going to keep running the wide nine and get gashed, or are you going to change something? Let's see what you got.
Explain to us what the wide nine is and why the Niners use it.
Okay, so first, Jim O'Neill, this Chip Kelly, worst run defense in franchise history. They give up more than 2,000 yards. Robert Saleh comes in, his first task, fix the run defense. So he brings in this Seattle scheme, which has 8 men in the box, does a great job, fixes it right away. But his pass coverage, defense, pass rush, it all sucks. And he's not doing well. He was on the hot seat after the first 2 years. He brings in this wide nine, which is really to supercharge your pass rush at the expense of your run defense. It works. He pulls it off because he's freaking good. And now he's gone. Javon Kinlaw is injured, and you have someone else who's not as good, and they're struggling against the run, which is what happens. What happens is you just move the defensive ends way out. And it's cool. It puts a lot of pressure on the offense, but on run plays, it isolates the two defensive tackles. They both can get double teamed. And if they're not great players and they're getting moved left and right like they were against the Lions, then Jimmy Ward's making all the tackles in the run plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We saw him a lot.
That's not good. Yeah.
On TV.
Right.
The idea is to split the tackles wide so they can attack the quarterback.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's like, it's a pass first league. Forget it. We want them to run the ball. And okay, well, if you're going against a team that's not as good as passing and better at running, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So usually the wide nine doesn't work very long. It worked for the Niners because Robert Saleh's brilliant. Let's see if DeMeco Ryans can make it work too. He may not have the personnel to make it work this year.
And he may not have the savvy to make it work.
Right. Right.
What would be an alternate system on defense that they could go to if the wide nine doesn't work in the first quarter?
They could go back to the stuff they were doing when Robert Saleh first got here, which is 5 guys across the line instead of 4. So instead of having a huge gap between a defensive end and a defensive tackle, you put another defensive end right there, and you have 5 guys in the line. Boom, there you go. There it is. How about that? 5 guys in the line instead of 4.
But that opens up problems for your secondary.
It's like this. Instead of having 4 spread out defensive linemen with 3 linebackers behind them, bring 1 linebacker down, okay, and have 2 linebackers behind him. That's what Vic Fangio did. When Vic Fangio was here, he would have Alden Smith right next to Justin Smith. He'd have a nose tackle. He would have Ray McDonald, and he would have Ahmad Brooks right next to him. 5 on the line, 2 linebackers behind him. It's standard stuff. It's standard stuff. It's actually much more standard than the wide 9. So it's something that the Niners have done before. It should be in their playbook right now. It's an easy adjustment.
Okay. All right. I enjoyed. Thank you for explicating that.